Hello fellow geeks and welcome back to Running Geek Girl. My name is Heather, the Running Geek Girl, and I'm glad you're here. Now I've had a few people that watch the channel that have asked me to do a little bit about online training plans. Yes, in case you didn't know, there are lots of training plans for different length races that you can pull up online that are absolutely free. So let's talk about whether they work, whether they're worth it, and we're going to compare a few of the more popular training plans. So first, let's talk about how you choose the right training plan for you. The first step is going to be choose the race that you're going to do. Now that sounds kind of easy, but finding the right race that's going to work with your schedule, the amount of time that you have available, with your current ability, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. You want to make sure that you've been running consistently for a good amount of time, that you're injury-free, that you have the time to dedicate to training. I'm going to link to a video up here and down in the description box. It's my previous video that I did about choosing the right race for you. The next thing you want to do is research your plan. There are so many different training methods out there. There are some that are more popular than others and some that are a little less well known. In fact, if you get running publications such as Runner's World or Women's Running, different magazines like that, you'll find that almost every single month they have some sort of a training plan for a different length race. So you need to take into account the time you have available, what you're interested in, what your end goal is, and what you're wanting to get out of the training plan. For instance, if you're wanting to train for a marathon, but you don't really think that you're going to have the time or ability to run more than 16 miles in a training run, then you need to look for plans that are going to be centered more around that type of commitment. If you want something with higher mileage, then you may want to look for something that's going to suit that need for you. So do your research, talk to friends about what's worked for them, and figure out the path that you need to take. First of all, the length of the overall plan. You need to work backwards from the race date that you're planning on and see how long you have to train. You need to keep in mind any obligations that may keep you from training that full time. For instance, if you're going on vacation, you know you're going to go on a business trip, and so on and so forth. If that's going to take time out of your schedule, you need to figure that into the equation. Also consider the longer the race, the more likely you are going to have to give a longer commitment to training. Number two, look at the starting mileage. You need to find a plan that starts with the initial mileage meeting your area of fitness. If a training plan starts out at having a 5-mile long run and the longest you've ever run is 1 or 2 miles, that may not be the plan for you. Look for something that's going to start from scratch. You need to be realistic when you're thinking about your ability level and your goal mileage. Most of the plans will have a beginner option, an advanced option, an intermediate option. If right now you're only running 20 miles a week, don't look at the plan that's going to start you out with 40 miles a week. It's just too much for you to handle right now. Work your way up. On the other hand, if you're comfortable running 3 to 4 times a week, then find a plan that's going to match that intensity. Don't automatically jump into one that's going to have 6 straight days of running. 3, look at how quickly the plan ramps up in mileage. Now, the quicker the long runs ramp up, the less time your body's going to have to adequately prepare for it. Also, a faster ramp up is going to most likely lead to burnout or injury, and so you need to look for something that is going to ramp up at a rate that you are comfortable with. Number 4, you need to look at whether these plans are going to be somewhat monotonous for you. Look at the ratio of training days to rest days to cross-training days. Look at the ratio of easy days to hard days. Make sure that there's enough of a variety to keep you interested and to keep you on track. Look at how many easy days or rest days that you get. Make sure that the plan that you choose is giving you an adequate chance to recover from your harder and longer runs. Finally, look at how long the longest run before your race is. There are many different schools of thought as to how long the longest run before a race needs to be. Some believe it needs to be just below where the final length of the race is. Others would say that it needs to match how long the race is, and still others would say that the longest run needs to be even longer than you're planning on running in order to give your body more training. Everything needs to culminate in your longest run being attainable without being injured or burned out by the end of it. Now that you have chosen your online training plan, then you need to determine what pace you need to train. This can be one of the hardest parts of self-coaching, is knowing when to go faster and when you're going too fast. There are lots and lots of charts online that will give you an idea of how fast you need to go for easy runs, long runs, tempo runs, any type of run that you can think of. Keep in mind that your pace needs to be based off of your current fitness level and not your goal finish time. So the important part is to start where you are now and then continue to work on it to get you closer to where you want to be come race day. So now that you've chosen your race, you've chosen your plan, and you've figured out what pace you need to be training, then it's time to start. But it's never quite that easy. We all know that life happens. A lot of things can get in the way of your training, sickness, injury, vacation. So you have to get a little bit creative sometimes with shifting your activities around in order to make sure that you complete your training plan. Usually, if you've had to take a significant amount of time off, then you'll want to pick up where you left off. Don't jump into where you're supposed to be at this point. You need to be able to still build to where you need to be. If you need to add an extra workout or two in order to make that happen, make sure that you're not doing it too intense. Don't do too intense activities back to back. Give yourself time to rest in between. If you've only missed 1 or 2 days, then a lot of times you can go ahead with just missing those 1 or 2 days on your workout and pick up where you need to be next. Remember that the golden rule of training is to remain injury-free so that you can keep running. It sounds obvious, but sometimes we can be a little hard on ourselves, and it makes it a little bit harder to do. Keep in mind that these free online plans are usually written in a one-size-fits-all format. However, we know every runner is going to be different. We all have different levels of ability. We all have different schedules. We all are different. So whatever training plan you choose may not be 100% for you. Many of the online free training plans do have some sort of a paid option, and a lot of times, depending on how much you pay, that's how more personalized it gets. They will sometimes have plans that you pay a small fee for, and it gives you a slightly more individualized plan based off of your gender and your age, but still a little bit cookie cutter. Other coaches and programs will have some that you pay quite a bit of money for. However, those may be worth the money for you because they are individualized, they are tailored to your needs, your abilities, your schedules, and often will come with personal coaching that will check in on you, make sure that you are accountable, and make sure that if anything is going wrong, if you are injured, if you are behind for any reason, then they can help you catch up and get where you need to be and meet your goals. If you're struggling with a particular training plan that you've chosen, either you find yourself completely wiped out by the workouts at the end, or you're not even able to complete the workouts as they're written, then it may be time to change programs. It's usually better to go ahead and switch midstream than to continue on a course that is just not going to be beneficial for you. In fact, I've heard some people say that it may be better for you to approach the starting line only slightly undertrained than to be injured or completely burned out. And there is a bit of truth to that. So you may have to either change plans completely, or you may have to modify things within your existing plan to make it work for you. This can be a little bit tricky if you're not really sure what you're doing. So some possible things that you could do to adjust a training plan would be to drop cross-training activities. You could reduce the length or even skip completely some of the shorter, easy runs in your plan. You could reduce the length or decrease the number of speed training runs that your program has. For instance, if there are 2 speed training sessions per week, then you could drop it down to 1. You can slightly reduce the length of your long run based off what you're needing, or you can add some walk breaks in. Or if none of that works, then you may need to change completely to a different type of plan. Now, in the weeks ahead, we're going to be taking a look at 4 of the most popular online training plans that you can find. We'll be taking a look at the First plan, the Galloway plan, the Higdon plan, and the Hansen plan. When I do a comparison of these plans, what I'm going to be doing is I'll be taking a look at what they have available for the marathon. Keep in mind that they do have plans available for other length races. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, because I'm going to have those reviews and those comparisons coming out very soon. Also, make sure that you're following me on social media. You can find all of my links down in the description box below. You can find me across most platforms under the name Running Geek Girl. I want to thank you all for dropping in on me here in the Geek Den, and I hope to see you again soon. Happy running. You need to be realistic when you're thinking about, ugh. Shut up, cat. Following me on social media. Also be sure that you're following me on social media. You can find all the. Also make sure that you're. Why can I not talk today? I need more caffeine. Okay.